Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I have another breakdown video of this beautiful Q8. It's been a little bit of time since I've done a breakdown. I started doing those photo critiques for a little bit and took a pause on the breakdowns, but I definitely want to do more of them. So yeah, here is this Audi Q8, and first off, I am in love with these SUVs. I love it doesn't matter if it's Q8, SQ8, RSQ8. I just like them. I spent a decent amount of time photographing them when I was at Garber, and I really enjoyed these. The way they drive, the comfort, the room, how spacey they are, and then also how sporty they are. Still have that little bit of edge to my SUVs here. So I right off the bat, I was excited to work on this. So I didn't edit with this photo, this gloomy fall day, which it's cool. I was perfectly fine with this, but then I later revised it into something crazier, which you'd see in the thumbnail as the composite I did. This photo kind of has two lives basically, but I'm going to be showing you guys the second life of it, the composite side of it, instead of just showing you how I edited some contrast and some fill light on this one. So first things first, like I said, in these formats, we are going to go layer by layer and kind of talk about things. There might be some stuff that we barely see being added, but we're going to talk about the global edit of this shot. So first things first, you can see here in a folder, I got all my selections ready. So I got the body with the wheels, I got just the front windshield. I think there's another layer in here that didn't get put in the selections folder. That's for the side windows. And then also I got the reflection down there at the bottom. So when I shot this, I knew where I wanted to go with this photo. I knew what I kind of wanted to do, and then we had this beautiful foggy day, so I was like, oh, maybe the photos could just be what it is. But I still kind of knew in the back of my mind how I wanted to composite it, or how I wanted it to look at least. So that reflection I knew was going to come with me. The ground I knew was going to come with me. So first layer is our background layer, and you can see a little bit more context, just because like you already see I'm jumping to this really cool tone edit, this really blue edit. I knew I was going to be wanting to work with this photo right here. And you can see when I click that on, I have a layer mask here of it already added to my location. Obviously, you can see the difference in color, and that's why initially on my first edit of the vehicle, you see blue get added in. Now, there will be a lot more that's done with this after, but now we'll start going layer by layer. So this was just a brightened up, hey, car seems like it's maybe a touch under still based on the location I want to drop it into. This is some, we obviously have this window coming from the old photograph, so that needed to be fixed. You could see there's actually a couple windows in there. I'll click on that one's the little molding, and then these are all the windows, right? I'm just basically doing gradients and making those reflections go away since there's no trees by my car anymore. This one's pretty cool. This is where I selected out the reflection, and I had to make sure that I took my background, flipped it, and then painted it into that reflection, right? So I had to basically make it all from the ground up, but I'll tell you guys how I did it. Basically, I took the car with the wheels, and since I had to paint that background, once I had the layer mask there, you could see that I had to paint that background into the reflection, right? Then I had to change the opacity so you're still seeing a little bit of rock through it. Then I had to use a little blur on it, a little ripple blur, but also I had to remake the car. All right, so yeah, I had to basically take the car, flip it, put it down here, try to line it up, and when you do this, you're gonna have to warp it a little bit, right? So you're trying to get those tires to all meet up basically. And I'm not gonna do this all over again because it was very tedious and very annoying, but basically you get something like that, and then you layer mask that back in to being that, right? You can see how that's starting to kind of line up. And then once you have it kind of set to what looks realistic, you need to then take your reflection back and paint that back in. Basically, that's what I did there. And then you can see I added a little blur, obviously, because it's supposed to be water, right? It's not going to be like perfectly in focus. So you're assuming that there's a little bit of movement in the water, and that's kind of blurred out a little bit. So that was my motive there with the reflection. And then we started working more on color tone. You can see I added a lot more blue here and a lot more color tone, doing little things to the hood and the wheels right there. A lot of, like, when you're trying to drop into different environments, you just got to do a lot of tweaking with, does that look right? Maybe this is a touch under now or over, and trying to fit it in that location. And a lot of times you're doing little tweaks and then erasing them and then doing them again and then erasing them again, just to get everything all tightened up. And your eyes play a big game on you the entire time you're working on these. So it's nice to sometimes take a little break, step back, and then you come back and you're like, oh no, that does look good. Or sometimes when you come back, you're like, man, that looks green, or all of a sudden that looks a little too yellow, or whatever. So it's important to kind of take a step back every once in a while. So now you could see, like, since that back plate was shot in like a 16:9 format, it was to get the perspective right and the horizon line right. I did not have a big enough photo, so I took another photo of the same sky, or pretty much the sky on the same day, right? And I put it up there at the top. If I select it, that's the whole frame. But then I used a gradient to layer mask myself into it, right? If I just hit the X on this was the other frame, and you could see where the difference is, right? You got to keep in mind I have the car selected out here, right? And then I'm pulling down from the top, telling it what to affect and what not to affect, or in reverse, actually, not from the top. So something like that. But you could see how I just had it blur into that horizon line. And keep in mind I have the car selected like this, inverted, so now it's not going to affect my car. It's only going to affect that background, and I have to worry about just kind of getting this nice hazy blue to blend together, which they were from the same day anyway, so it's not like it was too difficult. The next thing is I wanted this section here. I'll show you right here. I wanted that section here to have a glow, right? I wanted that to be more dramatic, this glow right here. So I took a gradient, a linear gradient, and I just added a little bit of haze coming from that glow there, just saying that, hey, light is starting to peek through there a little bit, and I wanted to make an emphasis on that. Then we get into the reflection game, which is always fun, the fun part of it. And you could see, like, I still had like that reflection line on the hood there makes 0 sense now at this point right here, because that's saying that something was behind my car, when in this photo now there's really nothing behind my car. Like, those mountains would not be reflecting into my car on the hood right there, so that has to come out. And then there's like little details here on the side of the car that are showing like a bush line or a tree line, which our photo doesn't really infer that there's bushes or trees or any vegetation at that point near us. So that stuff needs to come out. And you can see I'm just using soft brushes, cloning and stamping, healing. It's all of that together. Airbrushing, gradient mapping to kind of get those to fade nicely. And then you come out with a result like this. So you can see the difference. You can see here too, like little notes that with this, you can see that little tree line there. You see it here. There's like a dark line here, maybe where some of the tree pixels are still in my photo. So then you put that on, and it just cleans it up, right? I just added a little bit of white, cleaned up that line, and now I have a nice... Now the car's starting to look like the only thing it's reflecting is white and this clean, silky sky, basically. Then we added a little bit of atmosphere. So if I have all this smoke back here, I want to have it creep into my photo, like it's kind of hazing into this entire scene, because it had it's just a nice way to tie the two photos into one, right? It's like that blend of atmosphere that the back photo is calling for, that my front photo didn't have, that I needed to do here. So now obviously my smoke is a little too white, So you can see here I added a curves layer to add a little bit of blue into my smoke, because the smoke in the background has like a cold bluey tone to it. A little bit more for underneath the car here. And then again, so added some smoke to underneath the car. Then I made it blue, right? I needed to keep the consistency of that atmosphere being the same tone. And we're getting near the end here actually already. So then this was, I turned on the headlights here with, basically you can make these new LED lights, and the new headlights that a lot of companies are using are pretty fun to work with, because you can just keep them, in some instances you can keep them off, right? And let's say I have let's go with like I'm changing this up here, my brush size. Let's say we go with the 7, right? Just for, so we can see what we're doing here. And I go with my pen tool to make sure that we're hardness and size. So you set your hardness and size on your brush, then you come over to your pen tool and you make a line, right? But then you can come and stroke that path, and now it'll stroke that line in the size that you had your brush in and the color that you have selected. So if I have white, now it will stroke that. See, we did a little bit too small. Let's just for the video, let's do like a little bit bigger of a line, right? 14. Let's stroke that path now. Okay, so now we have that. We delete the path. Now I have this line here on its own, and you can double click on that layer, and we add a little outer glow to it, and you can really start to play with you know, some of these effects that kind of look like how these new headlights are starting to look. It's kind of a fun way to like turn brake lights on, but you didn't want the brake lights to be on in the photo, or maybe sometimes you forgot, like I didn't know that I was going to really want these headlights on in this photo, and then I didn't have that frame of the headlights being on, so then you can do it that way. So yeah, just a little note on some of these like LED looking light strips and stuff that you can kind of achieve. And when you do that, let's see if I can get that back up. When you do that too, you can change the color of it too as well. So like say like you're doing some weird a cybery effect, right? And you want like them to be blue, you can like change the color tone. Say you want it to be purple, you can really add like these light streaks. Just a cool little note about that. And then what else do we got? We got a little bit of ground cleanup in the front here. It was just like mainly taking some sticks out and cleaning up the reflection line to look a little bit more believable in some instances. Then we did a gradient on the bottom and the top. Added a nice little gradient to kind of pull your eye back into the car. And then I added a very light flare to the back end of the car there. You could see it, and the front end right here too on the front. Just to kind of seem like the light that was back here is affecting the back end of my car just a tiny bit. I don't think it needs to be seriously emphasized because it's a dull backdrop. It's like a very dull setting, so it doesn't need to be overkill, but I felt like it just shaped the car in nicely a little bit more. And then like this last layer has like a tiny bit more cloning and healing on it, and that is the final of this shot here. Not too bad of a composite. Obviously there's much harder composites. This one played really nicely. Once I gave it that color tone, it kind of was just like it plugged right into that scene. And it's one of my favorite SUV shots for sure. Not only do I love the actual SUV, but I feel like where would I want to just go out and randomly drive and explore? It would be in this location with this car. Like it would be so fun to just get lost out there for hours and photograph this SUV in these terrains basically. But yeah, so that concludes this breakdown video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll try to answer any questions that you guys might have in the comments. And the next breakdown I'll probably do, let's see if we can hit 1,000 followers. If we can hit 1,000, we're so close. If we can hit 1,000 followers, I'm going to do a breakdown on some of you locals might know Pashka Paul. his little car collection, little air quotes, his car collection when I shot it in an abandoned warehouse. I'm going to do kind of like a whole set walkthrough and just about how that day went and what the majority of the shots kind of entailed and how we moved through that day. That once we hit 1,000, I'll probably roll that one out and talk a little bit about that. An absolute bucket list shoot. But yeah, we'll dive into that and we'll talk about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks.